2025 planning board meeting to order. For those that would be able to participate, rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Doreen, would you take the roll?
Rick Meinking,
Here.
Rachel Henriksen,
Here.
Roger Bailey,
Here.
Jennifer Ladd, here, and James Hebert.
Here.
All right, we have no alternate, so we can get down and dirty here and get our job done. Subject 3.01, approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Rachel.
Second.
Second from Roger. Any discussion? Seeing none. Doreen, you want to take a roll?
Rick Meinking,
Yes.
Rachel Henriksen,
Yes.
Roger Bailey,
Yes.
Jennifer Ladd,
Yes.
and James Hebert.
Yes.
All right, thank you all. Now we have items for consideration. First one being 4.01, public hearing to receive comment on proposed amendments to Chapter 405 zoning ordinance, Section 6 definitions, Section 9 performance standards, Section 20.A Running Hill Gorham Road Mixed Use District, Section 21.B Light Industrial District, and Section 21 Industrial for proposed amendments to define a new use, landscape contractor, separate from the contractor offices, shops, and storage yards used to permit landscape contractors in the Running Hill Gorham Mixed Use District, RH zoning district, with special exemption, approval, and performance guarantees, and to permit the landscape contractors' use in the light industrial and industrial districts separate from the currently permitted contractors' office, shops, storage yards use. You going to introduce this one to us? Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a request that came about through the Long Range Planning Committee in December of last year to consider landscape contractors. We became aware of a landscape contractor in the Running Hill District through a violation that has since been resolved. But at the same time, we were discussing landscape contractor uses in the RF district. And so the timing actually worked. What ended up being before you is a result of going before ordinance committee and then council last Wednesday for first reading. It is a set of amendments to first the definitions creates the landscape contractor definition. And then section 9 is all about the performance standards. The light industrial and industrial already permits general contractors. And so now that we've separated this use, we just need to amend those sections as well to incorporate it. And then the Running Hill District would allow this use as a special exception. So even though this is enabling language, the specific user that wanted to do this request would still have to go through the special exception process and be reviewed by the Board of Appeals. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Autumn. This item is up for public comment. Anybody wishing to address the board, please go to the podium. Anybody online?
No hands.
Public comment closed, and I'll turn this over to my colleagues in no specific order. I'll just say that I think this is pretty cut and dry here. Adding the definition of a landscape contractor seems appropriate for those zones. And I think the performance standards are in line with what we would typically want to see from a landscape contractor. And then a lot of this is just add on to the different chapters within that section. But anybody want to make a comment? Go ahead, Rachel.
Yeah, I'm the liaison to the Long Range Planning Committee, so I had an opportunity to work some of this language. And I'm comfortable that the planning board has adequate authority to take a look at such things as protecting abutters, making sure that there's adequate parking. I have no problems with this. I think language protects the community.
Thank you, Rachel. James?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I'm fine with it. Also allowing it to be permitted use by the ZBA. It allows for that additional filter and ability for, again, like Rachel said, protecting the neighborhood, the abutters.
Mhm. Thank you. Go ahead, Roger.
I'm fine with this too. I'm just kind of curious, what was the reasoning behind the one person in both long-range planning and the ordinance committee? Was it the same objection or?
Yes, it was the same person who objected, and it was really about believing this was a special request for one particular use.
Okay. Thank you.
All set, Roger? Thanks. Jen, you're all set? Anything you need from us at this point? Autumn?
It sounds like you all are in favor of moving this forward. To
I,
council for public hearing and second reading. That will be held on August 20th.
I concur.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to 4.02, this is a consent item. Goro Palmer on behalf of J&J 103 Muzzy Realty LLC is requesting site plan review for a proposed multi-phase project located at 103 Muzzy Road, Assessors Map R55, Lot 11. And Helen, I believe you're going to update us on this one.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. As you mentioned, this is a consent item. It's for a site plan review, and it was previously reviewed at the April 22nd meeting of this board. It includes two phases, the first of which is a 19,800 square foot manufacturing building, and the second phase is a 10,000 square foot office building. The applicant has confirmed that they've received the DEP stormwater permit that they needed at the last review, and I believe the applicant is available for questions.
Thanks, Helen. Would the applicant like to address?
Good evening. My name is Guy Lebrecq. I am with CWS Architects representing J&J. I believe Steve Bushy is on vacation today, so I'll stand in his place. Our understanding is that the document that we were waiting for from a DEP perspective has come in finally. So we got it and it has been submitted to you folks for approval. That's my understanding.
Super, thank you. This item is open for public comment. Anyone wishing to make a comment, please step up to the podium.
No hands online.
Closing public comment. And to my colleagues, this is a consent item. We saw this one a little while ago. And I know we held it because of the DEP permit. And I feel like everything's been submitted and reviewed by our staff. And I'm open to any feedback from my colleagues. Anyone? Rachel, go ahead.
Sure, I just want to note that the Haley Ward memo, that all of the comments were made the last time were addressed.
Mhm. That is now a part of the record. Thank you, Rachel. I don't have any further comments myself. I do have a motion. I move to approve the project titled Proposed Industrial and Office Buildings at 103 Muzzy Road, proposed by J&J 103 Muzzy Realty LLC. The project is depicted in plan set prepared by Goro Palmer dated 6/16/25. The application is approved with the following findings, waivers, and conditions. Findings. The project will include the first phase of construction for a mixed-use development at 103 Muzzy Road. The first phase includes a 19,800 square foot manufacturing building and will include the associated parking, utilities, and stormwater management infrastructure for the building being constructed. The planning board finds the project meets the requirements of the site plan review and zoning ordinance with the following conditions. Condition 1, Prior to the start of construction, the applicant shall schedule a pre-construction meeting. This meeting shall include town staff, the developer, and their site contractor, and it's to be coordinated through the planning department. The below must be addressed prior to the scheduling of the pre-construction meeting. 2, provide the final full plan set to the planning department. This shall include all site and civil plans, landscape plans, lighting plans, and architectural renderings and elevations. The applicant shall execute and record a stormwater maintenance agreement with the town. The form of the stormwater maintenance agreement is located in Appendix 1 of the Town of Scarborough, Chapter 419, Post-Construction Stormwater Infrastructure Management Ordinance. Payment of the Chapter 419 Stormwater Maintenance Agreement and Reporting Fee, that's a total of $750. Payment of all review fees and invoices. This shall be reviewed by the planning department. Prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall pay impact fees totaling $3,073.26. Zone number 5, which is the total of that $3,773.26. Prior to the issuance of the certificate of occupancy, the applicant shall submit evidence in the form of a letter or plan prepared and stamped by a professional engineer who either prepared the post-construction stormwater management plan and its associated facilities, or supervised the plan and facility construction and implementation. The letter or plan shall certify that the stormwater management facilities have been installed in accordance with the approved post-construction stormwater management plan, and that they function as intended by said plan. Provide an as-built plan for the site, including survey elevations of the new swale. This shall confirm the swale was built to plan and function as intended and is subject to review and approval by the engineering and technical services and planning departments. Request an inspection by the planning department to ensure compliance with this planning board approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Rachel. Any last discussions? Seeing none, Maureen, would you take the roll?
Rick Manking,
Yes.
Rachel Henderson,
Yes.
Roger Bailey.
Yes.
Jennifer Ladd,
Yes.
and James Seaver.
Yes.
All right. Well, welcome to the town. All right, we have item 4.03, advisory opinion to zoning board of appeals as part of the miscellaneous appeal by Jacobs, Babcock, and Dominic Garradano at 12 Haggis Parkway, Assessors Map U38, Lot 8. Helen, you want to give us an update on this one?
Yes. So just a little bit of context, the zoning ordinance requires a planning board advisory opinion for any expansions or extensions of non-conforming uses before they are reviewed by the Board of Appeals. So in this case, this is a single family dwelling that's located in the B3 district, and they're looking to build a 12 by 26 deck on the east side of the home. So they're looking for an advisory opinion here from this board, which will then be considered by the Board of Appeals on their review and deliberation.
Thanks, Helen. And for the applicant? Not seeing the applicant here, so we'll take that up. This item is available for public comment. Anyone wishing, please step up to the podium. Nobody online, huh? All right, public comment is closed. Turning this over to my colleagues. As I was preparing for the meeting today, I was sitting out on my deck on a beautiful summer day and enjoying the wind. And I can certainly see why the applicants would like to pursue a deck on that side of the building, which is really, a lawn area. You really feel like this is something that I would be content with moving this further down the road and let it go to the Board of Appeals. But I'll open it up to you folks. Go ahead, James.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll speak from past experience when I was on the zoning board of appeals and we dealt with a similar situation where there was a applicant in this district right off of Hagus Parkway. They had a home. They'd been there for a long time. They were there before the zoning had changed, I believe, commercially, so they weren't allowed to do any sort of these expansions at that point anymore. So when they first moved there and built their homes, they were in conformance with all the zoning ordinances at the time. But later on, the town went and changed this to allow, commercial expansion into Hagus. And with that in mind, typically, I look at the zoning board very strictly, but in this case, these folks were here first. They've sort of been good stewards of their property, all the other residential folks that are there as well. And I see no issue with offering a positive recommendation to the zoning board of appeals to allow them to put their deck in.
Thanks for that insight, James. That's helpful.
Yep.
Thank you. Anyone else? Rachel?
Yeah, I took a look at the review requirements to ensure that I was comfortable that they had met the requirements. The ones I looked at particularly, specifically was section 3FA. The impact and effect of the deck addition will not be substantially different or greater than the impact of the non-conforming use before the addition. This doesn't offer another bedroom. It doesn't expand the opportunity for more people to live there. So I think that specific section is met. And the other one I took a hard look at is section 444. E, be compatible with existing uses in the neighborhood with respect to size, visual impact, intensity of the use, proximity to other structures, and density of development. Basically, there are no other structures. So that given that they are not actually increasing the footprint of the house, they are not, in my opinion, creating unsafe traffic conditions or any of the other requirements in section 4.4. I see no problem with this being going through. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Roger?
Yeah, I don't see any problem with this either, and there is obviously a significant amount of land where this is going to be located. So there's no problems with setbacks or anything like that, and so like I say, I don't really see a big problem with this.
Thanks, Roger.
Yeah,
Jen?
same. I'm supportive of this.
Very good. I think you have your answer.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Moving on to 4.04 Teradyne Consultant LLC on behalf of Tom and Kelly Roth has requested preliminary subdivision review of Jonies Way subdivision located at 12 Jonies Way, Assessor's Map R5, Lot 207A. Helen, want to tell us about this one?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So the applicants are seeking preliminary subdivision review for a residential subdivision that would create 3 additional lots on about a 6.81 acre parcel where there is currently 1 single family dwelling. This is in the RF district, and I believe the applicant is available for any questions you might have.
Thank you, Helen. And for the applicant?
Good evening. I'm Craig Sweet with Teradyne Consultants here for Thomas and Kelly Roth. If I could share my screen, I can pull up the plan. So again, my name is Craig Sweet with Teradyne Consultants here for Thomas and Kelly Roth. They're looking to, as Helen said, put an additional 3 lots off of Jonies Way, which is a private way that they had permitted earlier this year with town staff and received approvals in April. The original parcel was 9.46 acres. And the private way was designed and installed in May-June timeframe, still wrapping up, but largely in just finishing touches. There's a light pole that has to be put in at the end of the Broad Turn Way, at the intersection of Broad Turn Way and Jonies Way, And then the applicants sold the existing home that was there, shown as lot 2. So they're looking to add 3 more lots off of Joni's Way with each minimum 80,000 square foot size, and have the 200 foot of, minimum 200 foot of frontage. Stormwater for the private way has been installed, and then as part of the application, we relooked at it and we're increasing the size of one of the level spreaders just to run off at the end, just to treat the lot 4. And well, everything else is treated by the existing spreaders that are going to be there. We've spoken with the peer review engineers, and they've asked some additional information, which we'll include in our next submissions for them. We had submitted based on Joni's Way being as an existing road, and they're looking to see just as the site as it was before it was installed. So we're going to add that information in any resubmissions for that. As part of the permitting of Joni's Way, a maintenance agreement was developed and put in place, and that's been recorded in the Registry of Deeds. And the new homes would fall under the same maintenance agreement for stormwater facilities and roadway maintenance. And then all lots will be on individual septics and wells. Test pits were done on site, and the wetlands on site were also delineated in 2022 by Basswood Environmental. A copy of that report was included. And then the buffers and pins are shown. Buffers are shown on the wetland areas to be retained, and those will be staked out in accordance with the regulations for that once and pinned so everyone knows that they're there. And the lots get sold. There was a comment I noticed from the traffic engineer regarding site distance. I had been out in February when there are no leaves on the trees, and there were no issues seen from site distance. So there's some areas down in the lower portion that just popped up on me of lot 1 that'll need to be trimmed back, and we'll show those areas on any future plans. I do have an aerial here I can show it kind of for some context. So Joni, this is actually an aerial that was taken, I think, in May or June timeframe. So you can kind of see where Joni's Way is going in. This is the existing house lot that was sold off. You can see that the areas of the lots have largely been the lawn area for the home that was there. There were some raised planters here, a greenhouse here. We're not looking to expand, with the exception of a little bit of like kind of hay clearing back here. But this has all been utilized by the previous owners in the past, keeping all the trees that we can on the site. I don't think we're calling for any to be removed by the proposed changes. I'm happy to, and I forgot to mention, all homes are going to be sprinklered out there. So all new homes will be sprinklered, and then happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. This item is open for public comment. Anyone wishing to make a comment, please step up. State your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
Robert Basley, 7 Pin Oak Drive here in Scarborough. This plot of land is actually our family farm, former farmland. And recently, I was told by legal counsel that I have a 1/3 interest in it, and my brother has a 1/3 interest in it. And unfortunately, my brother passed away last May. And Tom and Kelly know that we have that interest. They've actually filed a claim with Stewart Title, and Stewart Title has been working on it. And so I think that something's going on here. They're not being honest. The attorney for Stewart Title is claiming that the town made a mistake. The property was taken by the town for back taxes and then redeeded to myself, my brother, and my sister. That's why we all have a 1/3 interest in it. And my brother never gave up his interest. I haven't given up my interest in it. And it was my understanding there was a probate court hearing in the first week of December 2024. And they were appointing a personal representative. This is with the Portland Probate Court. And I checked the records, and that appointment went to an attorney Campo. And as of January of this year, so he is the personal representative for the estate. And and he would be representing the estate, and it looks like they're trying to track down one of my nephews. My brother has 4 children, and however, 3 of the 4 have abandoned their claim. And from what I've been told by legal counsel, is if they abandon their claim, then my mother, Sharon Coates, and William Coates, who was next door, then would be the next in line to make any claims for my brother's assets. And my brother also, his residence was actually in Poland, 182 Cobb Road in Poland. And I know there's plenty of, I also know what he had for a mortgage, and his mortgage was under $30,000. So there's definitely assets to be paid. He didn't have any outstanding bills and to speak of. And so I don't know why this is coming before the planning board, knowing there's major title issues going on that need to be resolved. And I was told that they would contact me. The title company would contact me at some point. In fact, they said, we're going to file a lawsuit against you in Superior Court to get your interest. And that has not taken place. That was of December of 2024. So the other thing I'd like to point out, your map is deceiving. You do not have the property lines in the right place. That first house that's closest to the Broad Turn Road is, I don't know if the setbacks are correct or not. We've had a garden, the family's had a garden, a vegetable garden out there since 1968. And it's riddled with ledge out there, and where they wanted to put the house is ledge, which means that septic sewer affluent is going to be caught on top of that ledge and flowed over into our vegetable garden, which is extremely unsafe. So definitely against this subdivision, especially the location of that house next to the Broad Turn Road, and due to the fact it's so close to our vegetable garden, and just won't be safe. So
Okay, thank you very much. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mark Dolan, 351 Broad Turn Road. I believe one of the questions I had was in the staff report regarding contacting the land trust and conservation of some of these lots. So I won't ask the question because it was in the staff report. Unless there is an answer to that question, I'd be interested in hearing the answer. Okay, if anyone has that? Well, I think the question was,
We'll have to confer with the applicant.
okay, all right. Very good. But my other point was the safety pulling out onto Broad Turn Road. So I've lived on Broad Turn about 8 years. Traffic has increased, especially in the morning and the afternoon. Speeds have increased. So it's tricky getting out onto that road. So I think you need more than just cutting back the trees and the shrubbery. I would think coming out of Joni's Way, looking left down towards Fuller Farm, pretty clear view. You won't have a good view as it goes up and around the corner to seeing cars coming. So you really have to be on your toes coming out of that driveway. I don't know if there's anything more we can do, and it's not just Joni's Way. It would actually be probably a few of the other private ways and my driveway as well. A way you can warn the person pulling out that there's traffic coming, using lights or some type of, traffic coming from your left. That's be my only comment. It's challenging pulling out on Broad Turn, certainly in the afternoons and morning during rush hour. So take that into consideration as beyond we'll just trim back the trees and they'll grow back. And right now it's tricky. You got to almost be on the road to see both sides. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please step up.
My name is William Coates, and I'm an abutting owner of the land in particular. As far as the road conditions go out there, I have to make an appointment to cross the road to get my mail because there's so much traffic back and forth, one way, the other. I've gone to the police station in the years past, asked them if they can do anything as far as radar, they can use our driveway, anything. And the person I spoke to, I can't remember who it was, they said that they could put your speed is type sign up. I never saw it. I never see a police car out there except going to Hollis or something like that. And it's just dangerous. I'm out there almost every weekend trimming that corner back that's in question there as far as so I can get out of the driveway so I can see. And usually I've got to the point where I can hear a car coming around the corner before I see it. Then I don't dare to go, and then I look to the right, there's another car coming this way, and it's just boom, 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 boom. And now that I've said all that, I got a question as far as where the houses are gonna be built, and which part of that property do they plan on putting the houses? I have nothing other than what I saw tonight, and I don't know if that's a true spots or not, but any way of finding out any information on that?
Well, we'll talk with the applicant and they'll be working with staff, but this is a preliminary site plan review. And typically, we don't really know where they're putting the infrastructure at this point.
Okay, because another quick question, answer. Our property on the right-hand side, if you're looking at the front of the house, it's got a row of big pine trees right in a row, and they went around the back, but since it died. And Tom said, that's a property line. And I said, that ain't the property line. That was put in by my wife's ex-husband as a windbreak for blowing across Fuller's Field during the winter times. And he swore up and down it was a property line. I spent thousands of dollars having two different companies come out and survey my property, and that is not the property line. And I just worry about them knocking down what fence I have up there, and all that stuff. Other than that, I'm through crying on your shoulder.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yep.
I want to, no, we've already had. Let me ask the applicant if they want to address any of the comments that have been made thus far.
I can't speak to any of the legal interests. I'd have to follow up with that. That's the first I've heard of it myself. In terms of traffic, we've reached out to DOT for correspondence with them. Hopefully have something by the time we submit next, we'll have something from them. But the site distances when I went out there meet the regulations. And it's designed in accordance with the standards for Scarborough in that area. And then we have not spoken with the conservation or any of the land there. They're looking to just kind of keep it single family residential out there, and it's kind of just enough for the lots in that area. Yeah, I think that was all the concerns. Fortunately, I can't speak to anything with the legal stuff on that end, but.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to, anybody else have comments? I'll give you another minute if you want to address the traffic issue you mentioned. Okay, very quickly, please.
During the 1980s and the 1990s, I spent those years building golf courses. I used the front 5 acres where Joni's Way is. I originally built the entrance there to accommodate trailer trucks coming in to unload construction equipment and landscaping equipment. And utilize the full 5 acres for equipment storage, straw storage, things like that. During that time, we had numerous accidents with my vehicles. We'd always come in from the west, pull up, and then back in, and we had numerous rear-end collisions when we tried to, when we stopped at Joni's Way, what is now Joni's Way, to back into the 5 acre lot. It's a very problematic area. And plus our homestead house and farm house, that driveway is a horseshoe driveway. Getting out of that, as Bill said, you can't see anything. You have to turn the radio off, turn the fan off, roll down the windows and listen. The only problem with that is now we have electric cars that don't make much road noise.
Okay.
So,
Well, certainly
I say
traffic,
that to confirm what the others are saying, it is a high impact hazard area, and traffic has only gotten worse since the 1980s and the 1990s.
okay, thanks. Any other public comment? All right, I'm closing public comment and turning this over. There's a few things that have come up during this discussion and during the public hearing that staff was not aware of. However, we do have a deed as part of our packet here. And so we're going to continue with the preliminary subdivision discussion, but also know that we'll have to do some additional research. The applicant's going to have to at least satisfy some of the comments that were made this evening. And let's get to the bottom of all of the issues that have now surfaced. With that, I'm going to open this to my colleagues and start down on my right here, James.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I live generally in this area as well. I know traffic is an issue in this particular area, not just because of like the pine trees and like the larger growth that's there, but fast growing dogwoods as well, because you cut those back, but then 2 or 3 years, they're back again immediately. So I empathize with the traffic concerns, and that's certainly going to be a discussion point going forward with this. In general, I don't see an issue with putting the subdivision there for 3 homes. I mean, the 3 homes are pretty, it's a standard size for what's allowed in that space. As long as they are installed in such a way that it's not going to be impacting to the adjacent neighborhoods. I know the proximity of the septic to an adjacent neighborhood, that first home was a concern that was brought up in public comment. So I'd like to see, make sure that was addressed, that'd be addressed as well if this proceeds any further. Lastly, with regard to the title issues, I mean, I don't want to see the town wrapped in any sort of legal issue with this if we were to approve something and there's something else going on with here, but that will need to certainly be resolved, I would say, before we put any sort of approval or disapproval on this. But initially, looking from the standpoint of a subdivision going on Broad Turn Road, I don't have an opposition to it. Just need to make sure that, yes, we need to take the traffic consideration into account as we make a decision, as we talk about it.
Thanks, James. Roger?
I'm not sure. Can you describe where this is on Broad Turn Road? Because I can't find it on any of my material. Is it way out past Burnham?
Please forgive me. I live in Bath, so don't know the area super well. I have the GIS open on my computer. I can share where it is. It is, okay. It is on the outskirts, yeah.
You got it?
Give me one second.
Have you been to a Floral Farm Preserve?
We're not open dialogue here. This is the board deliberating on the merits of this application. So we don't. We've got staff here that is going to put that up on the screen for everybody. Thank you.
This is the property in question here. And this broad turn, and then let's see if I can find you another reference. Katie's Lane is right across.
Mhm.
Then you have Ruby May Lane. Closest.
This is before
Is
Burnham
Johnny,
Road, right?
well, that's what I'm.
Go
trying to figure out.
down the hill and then,
Yeah, well, there's a number of hills.
yeah, well, it is rolling hills.
Yeah,
Is Joni's Way currently a driveway that goes,
it's a driveway.
oh, okay,
Yeah, it was,
It doesn't pull up on when you search for it anywhere.
yeah, because it was approved in April and they built it in May, June timeframe. So you can kind of see it in the arrow there, the private way going in.
and is the Broad Turn Farm just to the right of that?
Yes, yeah, it connects, it abuts the property for lots
No.
of 2 and 4 and 2, I think.
From this point of view, it's left, but.
Yeah, that's it, I believe.
Oh, Broad Turn
Conservation.
Farm is going out that way? Okay. So it's on the same side of the road as Fuller Farm?
Well,
Oh,
I
okay,
apologize, I
okay.
misspoke. I thought that
Okay.
was the conservation.
This is the land trust property on this side.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know where you're talking about.
It's, I don't think this would be that complicated to figure this thing out. Once they get the, who owns this property
Mhm.
straightened away. And I just wonder whether we should be spending any time right now trying to do something until this gets resolved. Do we have any idea I know this just came up. Can we ask the abutters how long they've been trying to?
I don't feel comfortable doing that in this setting. This is the first time I've ever heard of it.
Yeah,
So,
right, yeah.
as I told the chair, I don't think there's any issue if you all wanted to move this forward as a preliminary and then let us investigate it before the final application, because the preliminary is not a recorded document.
Okay,
So as to not take it off track.
okay. Then I do have a question. On Broad Turn Road, when you're going in on Joni's, is Graysley, Mr. Is that your home right there?
If you're going to make a comment, please step up to the podium. Thank you.
I don't have a pointer, but where you see the green box,
Yeah,
that's my mother's home right there,
okay,
okay? So that's right on the top of the hill, right on that curve. If you drop down to the right, you'll see the parking lot for Fuller Farm Preserve. Gotta go down a little bit further. And that's, this 9 acres abuts the Fuller Farm Preserve.
okay.
And on to the south and towards the north and northwest, it abuts my mother's, family, home.
And where is your house?
It's in that, they had it in green before, they had it outlined in green. That's one parcel, and then there's another parcel that is added to that, that goes all the way back to the, what I call the patent line. From the 1730s when the town was originally laid out. The properties were laid out in patents.
Are you talking about that's highlighted now in green?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the front lot and the back are both owned by Sharon Coates and William Coates,
Okay, thank you.
just to be clear on
Yep.
that.
Okay.
Is that cleared up for you, Roger?
Well, I don't really, I think I'm gonna just sit and listen to what everybody else has to say.
Okay. Rachel?
Yeah, in my years on the planning board, I've not come across this. I took a look at the Roth private way. It wasn't Joni's way. It was listed, came before the town as the Roth private way. And the road that is spoken of was approved, did not come before the planning board, because I was trying to think why. It sounded as though so much was done, but instead it came before the town, a town engineer. Angela, did you take a look, when it came before you, did you take a look at the deed?
So as part of that application is title right interest, and I've had this come up with other private ways. It gets a little complicated with private ways, as you can imagine, when people are splitting lots off the back and over time. What we have been directed by our attorney when we go through a private way is if they're in the application designating or confirming that they in fact own that property, then we move forward. If there is a dispute about the property rights and ownership, that's a private matter that they end up going through courts through kind of a civil action. That's been our take on private ways as the direction from the town attorney. So this didn't come up with this applicant. It has come up with other applications that we've had disputes over property rights, and we've been told if they're providing that confirmation that they own it, then we move forward. And it, like I said, it's a separate process that's private for them to hash it out in the courts. This, I think, is different because this is a subdivision, I will say. Private way is a different piece under the ordinance, which is not as prescriptive and doesn't have as many regulations around it. And that's obviously subdivision is through the state statutes. So that's a different animal.
All right, thank you. I noticed that the deed was 2008. So, and it included such things as the stone wall, the corner of the stone wall. We all know how accurate that is. I'm not ready to put this through at all. I think there is just too much here that casts doubt upon who owns or who has the right to put in a subdivision to build a house. A private way may be there, but given Angela's response, there was no question at the time as to who owned it. There wasn't required to be any. So I'm simply not prepared to take this even under consideration until it is determined who owns the land, who owns the property, who owns the ability to do something with it. Thank you.
Yeah, we just.
Yeah, that's what. Okay. Thank you, Rachel. Jen?
Land ownership topics aside, I do have a question, and I saw the comment in the staff memo that the gentleman referred to earlier about approaching the Scarborough Land Trust to talk about potential conservation style subdivision as opposed to the traditional one. But one thing I didn't see included in that or elsewhere on the plans is any sort of option for an easement from the end of Joni's Way to that land trust land. And, you know, an easement is just permission over land. It doesn't need to be built out ever, but we have so many instances in town where we have cul-de-sacs or dead-end roads like this that don't connect to anything. And I know that that's something that through our comp plan and a lot of other ways through town, we're trying to address, but it's very difficult after everything has already been built out and finalized. So I would just ask the applicant to consider the addition of an easement at the end of that dead end road to the public, to the land trust land, I'm sorry, for the potential future use of those residents to access that site without having to go out on Broadturn Road.
Yeah, they,
And I'm generally speaking about non-vehicular access, so like some sort of trail.
yeah, no,
Something like that.
they'd kind of mentioned at the beginning, I think they'd be open to adding that there,
Okay.
so I'll definitely talk to them and hopefully add it on the next plan.
Okay, great. And then my only other question at this point has to do with the proposed 2,100 square feet of wetland fill on lot 3. And I was just wondering if you could explain why that's being proposed as being filled at this stage.
They were hoping to fill that for the house setting in the back there and give some more space back there for the infrastructure out there. We had submitted an Army Corps self-certification for that. We haven't heard anything back yet, but they were hoping to get the house set back there and kind of secluded away a little bit more for that lot.
Okay, I would just ask maybe if about reconsidering that building siting location, if, you know, it's a pretty big, over almost 2.5 acres. And impeded obviously before you get there with some other wetland impacts, but it seems like there's room enough to work around. That's my comment. So I think that, you know, at this point, it seems premature to show that as being filled. If you were in with a site plan and you had a septic layout and, you know, other sort of
Sure.
infrastructure things that couldn't be avoided some other way, that seems like a different situation. But at this point, with very hypothetical building locations and shapes even, I would just maybe reconsider, ask that that fill be reconsidered.
Yeah, we can definitely address that. Any further submissions?
Thanks.
Thanks, Jen. Well, you've heard a lot, and I think there's some things here that you have to investigate. And I don't think this is ready for us to even give a preliminary approval on. So I think at this point, I'm going to check in with my colleagues and see if we could table this item and allow them to come back with some more information, conversations with the abutters.
Sure.
And you've got a whole host of other things that are now questions that we have. So you're kind of one step ahead than you were when you came in here this evening.
Yeah, no, I
But
understand.
rather than take a vote and give preliminary approval at this point, I think it's a little premature. Still a lot of questions that need to be answered. So if my colleagues are okay with that, I would move to table this.
We have to be careful how we move to table, because one move to table means it never comes back to us, or doesn't come back to us for a year.
Well, that's
So-
if we took a vote, if we denied it.
No, if you have to, if you table something,
No, it's just if you don't
Reject.
approve it, if you deny it. Tabling, you can come back to the next meeting.
but do we expect a time for it to come back?
I would expect it comes back next time, because when I look at the assessors, the deed was from 2008. The Roths bought it from Mark DeSalt, and it shows the 9-acre parcel. So I suspect we'll be able to get to
iron
the
that out.
bottom of it fairly quickly and bring it back.
Okay, I would also like to know, when the Joni's Way came to the town, were the abutters notified?
They are not required as a private way.
So in other words, nobody had a notice that there
Notice
was
for
going to
that.
be something there.
Yeah.
So this is the first time that,
Mhm.
before, is it this time that any interested party has had notice that there is a problem, official notice?
I think it's now a matter of public record
Yeah,
for sure.
yes, I just wanted to make sure
Yeah.
that if there's, legally, if there's a clock that starts at some point, when does that clock start? And it does not start when Joni's Way went in. In other words, I don't know if it starts, but I think we should be clear that this is the first time, the first blush, that the issue has been raised before us.
Correct. So, just to double check with my colleagues, we're going to table this and allow the applicant to come forth with a preliminary subdivision plan that answers our questions and concerns, and also in collaboration with the abutters to make sure that they are aware that this is coming forward. And we won't take any action tonight on it.
I agree with that.
Do we have to also have clarity on who owns the property?
Well, that's part of the whole,
I believe that's
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing to answer for the,
correct.
just to make sure I have it right for my notes. That's the biggest.
Well, we want to codify what we have, and we want to
Exactly.
ensure that
The
it's,
tax records show that the applicant owns the property as they have submitted with their deed. We will verify and find out what the discrepancy is, but I cannot commit to any other deep dive
Mhm.
with, other than what we have.
Understood. We'll go by what the legal framework has been put forth.
Yeah, and then-
And the burden of proof otherwise is on abutters if they have
Sure.
some sort of legal framework that has been established.
Yeah, and I can say our plans are based on the survey and the deeds from there, and that's what we've submitted based off that, so.
Okay, yeah, I
Yeah, yeah,
fully respect it.
no, I
Respect
understand.
your position and understand that we do have legal documents.
Yep,
We just, I think, want to do our due diligence based on the testimony that we heard today.
no, I understand. This first I heard of it myself, so.
And
Okay.
if I could add, again, through the private way ordinance, which is separate from the subdivision, what we've also gotten from our town attorney with any kind of, like you said, we have the documentation, but there's a dispute, which means it comes out of this and just goes into a court, which we could see coming. A lot of times they might request an attorney's opinion, a legal opinion on it might be helpful for you to submit as well if you have that at the availability,
I can ask the applicant.
rather than.
There's a good tip.
I know their attorney drafted up the maintenance agreement, so they should be familiar with it, and I can speak with them and see what we can provide, so.
I think your friends are the staff and work with them. Are you all set, Autumn?
I appreciate your time
Okay.
tonight. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. We're not making the timeline different. All right, let's see what we got next. We've got 4.05, Stonefield Engineering and Design on behalf of Waterstone Scarborough LLC is requesting a revised sketch plan review for the construction of a new commercial banking center building, Bank of America, of approximately 4,660 square feet with an attached drive-up ATM located at 700 Gallery Boulevard, Assessor's Map R37, Lot 3307. Helen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You covered the highlights, but yes, just to reiterate, the applicant is seeking sketch plan review. They did come before this board for the June 16th meeting and are returning with a revised proposal for a 4,660 square foot bank with a drive-through ATM at 700 Gallery Boulevard, and the applicant is available for any questions.
Thank you, Helen. And for the applicant?
Hello, my name is James Vagel. I'm a project engineer with Stonefield Engineering and Design, here to speak on behalf of the applicant, Bank of America. So we are here to introduce a revised architectural layout following the previous sketch plan review hearing. Following that hearing, the bank made the decision to introduce to this site their most modern banking standards, including revised architecturals and a revised site layout. This is going to make the site a first of its kind location in New England, featuring these revised standards. Following the previous sketch plan review hearing, we felt that it was best to return in front of the board and hear their comments on the revised design, before going to formal site plan review. We're happy to talk through all of the site plan changes made to the site plan and the architectural standards as we work through this process. So with the revised site plan, the decision was made to try and better align the site with the surrounding commercial center, including the multi-tenant commercial building adjacent to the site. This included rotating the building to have the main entrance facing the interior of the the Gallery Boulevard Shopping Center, and aligning the parking with the adjacent multi-tenant commercial building. With this, the pedestrian path was shortened, leading to better pedestrian accessibility to both the front entrance and the ADA parking area. Included in this was improved landscaping, with now the ability to provide foundation plantings around the entire building. With this, the drive-up ATM was shifted now to the east of the building to provide a modern drive-up ATM with an associated canopy and structure, as well as rotating the employee parking to now sit adjacent to the drive-up ATM. The revised architecture standards introduce modern architecture to the building, including improved glazing with materials including stone, metal paneling, and stucco, as well as some veneer. This site, the setbacks now much better match the adjacent commercial building at the request of the town staff discussed during the pre-app meeting. And the site features some really high quality materials, now meeting the 40% glazing requirement provided by the architectural standards, meeting previous comments made by the town. We're here to review these revised standards with the town prior to continuing to formal site plan review. We're happy to talk through any comments you may have on the revised design.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. With that, I'm going to open this up for public comment. Anyone wishing, please step up. Nobody online?
No one.
I'm closing public comment and turning to my colleagues. Just a real quick question, though. This now looks like it has two ATMs, or so the change is the way you rotated the building. So now the front is looking toward the strip mall or the large box store there. And we now have two aisles for ATM. Is that ATM and a drive-through with the kind of vacuum? So transactions happen, or is it both ATMs?
So initially, the site will be built with one ATM with a planned future ATM as a part of this approval.
Okay, which one is the future and which one is the now? Or
So the sheet that you can currently see on the board
Yeah.
includes the future proposed ATM. During our discussions with town staff, it was recommended that we go to the board showing both ATMs as a part of our site plan review package, rather than try and come back at a later date to get the second ATM proposed.
Okay. That makes some sense.
Mhm.
All right, I just wanted to get that out there so my colleagues had some context to some of the, because we saw this not too long ago. So I'll turn it over in no particular order. Anybody wish to step up and have a chat with this? Go ahead, Jen.
I'll go. So, Brooke had a question also, not just about which ATM was current and which was proposed, but also about whether they would be, either of them would be sort of full serve banking with the tube or connected to the tellers, or just they're just
No
ATM?
teller services, just ATM.
And so that, based on the site plan, it looks like there's no other, so it's either you go inside or it's ATM, there's no sort of drive-through banking.
There will be a 24-hour vestibule located at the building entrance along with the proposed ATM.
Okay, all right, thank you. Can you speak to the staff comment about the 50-foot front yard setback and how the building is now over that, being shown over that?
Yeah, absolutely. So our previous application had the building behind that 40-foot front yard setback. But to better match the surrounding shopping center, we felt that it would be good to match the adjacent commercial building. So if you see there to the right of the plan, the adjacent commercial building is within that setback as well. And to be able to align the parking area with the rest of the center, we felt that it would be best to seek relief for that setback so that we could provide a better overall site.
Okay, that's helpful, thanks. And any other questions or issues about the staff comments? There's one about providing outdoor seating or sort of placemaking near the front entrance of the building. I know you spoke earlier about being able to provide with the building shift, being able to provide foundation plantings around the whole building, but just curious if you think you'll also be able to meet that requirement.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be incorporating bike racks in the front of the building, and we can look to provide seating as well in our site plan review application.
Okay, usually that's Rachel's comment. Sorry, Rachel. Just curious. I think that's all I have at this time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. Rachel?
Yeah, I'm intrigued by the blade wall there. Could you explain that, how that works?
Sorry, the blade wall?
Yeah, that tall, thin structure?
The architects.
Yeah,
Kind of like the Mercedes.
yeah, we've got another blade wall in town, so that's why I'm calling it that, because that's what Mercedes calls it. Okay, it has the logo on it. What does it do?
So it's just there as a part of the structure. It will not be a two-story, area that you could walk upstairs in. It's to be able to provide the bank with better branding standards, given that we're shifting the front entrance towards Gallery Boulevard. We're still looking to provide the bank with great visual access to Gallery Boulevard, where the majority of vehicular traffic will be taking place. And so the decision was made to introduce signage to this taller element of the building to be able to provide better visibility.
Okay, so you're calling it the taller element. I'll keep calling it the blade wall. Is it solid? All the way through?
Confirm that with the architect.
Yeah, and also I'm looking at it. The building extends, the rear of the building extends along the back of it. It looks as though. Looks so the rear of the building is longer than the front of the building. I'm looking at exterior elevation north versus the size of the building exterior elevation south.
So we are still working through the design review process, and so we do not have floor plans available to share at this time. But with our formal site plan review application, we will absolutely include floor plans and happy to talk through any internal building elements then.
Okay, good. Is there going to be any lighting on top of the blade wall?
I would have to confirm that with the architect, but none anticipated at this time.
Any uplighting so that people can see your logo?
No, because, we like stars as much as everyone else. We will not be proposing any uplighting.
Okay, be careful, please, with your lighting plan. Otherwise, James will talk to you about it. Every time new architecture comes on, it becomes a question of how is it featured and what is the lighting going to look like? It's not routine. So that's going to be very important for you to have, and I will take a look at the landscaping when you come back to us.
Yeah, absolutely.
I always think more is better.
Yeah, with our formal site plan review application, we'll be including a thorough landscaping plan as well as a full lighting plan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Roger?
Thank you. Actually, I think we should call it the skyscraper on Gallery Boulevard. Okay.
The skyscraper, okay.
I appreciate the redesign, especially the way you've set up the traffic to align the lanes better and everything, and also lining up the structure with the adjacent structure. So I think that's a good That's a good move. And at this level, I'm pretty satisfied with everything. Look forward to seeing more on the architectural
Mhm.
aspects as well as the landscaping, because as we've mentioned in the past, there's robust landscaping along Gallery Boulevard.
Mhm.
And it would be nice to keep that there. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. James?
I really don't have anything much to add to my colleagues, except I'll be looking forward to seeing the lighting plan and any sort of outdoor lighting controls you intend to implement to help keep that lighting down on the exterior at night.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, James. At this point, you haven't done yourself any harm by coming here with your revised plan. And I think we'll leave it at that. Seems like it's going to fit in there. The devil's in the details. And of course, we are very interested in the landscape and the architectural rendition that is going to add to that larger parking lot, because this is really an infill project. And I think it's a good addition, but we'll see you when it comes forward with a site plan.
One item we were looking to confirm with the board today was the location of the standalone drive-up ATM. With the site plan review ordinance, it was our goal not to place the ATM in the front yard. In this site having some weird design restraints, really having 3 front yards, we felt that it was best to tuck this in, but we will be seeking additional relief to place that ATM in the front yard setback. We just wanted to confirm if there were any items that the board would like to see to help make that change. We will certainly be including landscaping, screening, matching the surrounding character of the shopping center, and looking to provide a really high-level product for the town.
I think that's a great step forward, but I'll turn to my colleagues to see if they have any additional input for the applicant. We'll see it again, and good luck.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone's time today. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving forward to item 4.06, VIP Tires and Auto is requesting sketch plan review for the development of a 12,000 square foot commercial building with 10 to 12 drive-in service bays and a showroom waiting area for customers located at 370 Payne Road, Assessors Map R38, Lot 5. Helen, want to clue us in on this one?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think you've clued us in on most of the details, but as you said, this is about a 12,000 square foot building proposed to include 10 to 12 automotive service bays and a showroom with a waiting area inside. It's a 2.6 acre parcel in the B3 zone, and I believe the applicant is available for discussion.
Oh, before we go, this one did have some specific items that we included in our staff memo, but we did want to make the board aware of those. This site is in a very wetland-ridden piece of property, and the sketch plan that you have really does not take any of that into account, nor does it meet our design standards with the way that the bays are situated and sited. Just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you. And for the applicant?
Good evening. My name is Rodney Kelshaw. I'm here from Flycatcher LLC Environmental Consulting. And thank you for taking the time to meet with us this evening. I understand that the site plan was emailed over this afternoon, but I also have paper copies that I can hand out if that will help.
We're here looking at a sketch plan. And
I'm sorry. No, we do have an updated plan because we
don't do that.
No, this is a sketch plan.
Oh, okay.
To give you direction into developing your site plan. And I would start with the laundry list of items that staff has prepared. That might be a good start. This is really, for a sketch plan, very, very abstract, if you will. And there's a lot of things that we typically would like to have a little bit more information on during the sketch plan phase. But I think we'll hear what you have to say related to your sketch plan, not to your site plan.
Okay, yep, sorry for the confusion and thanks for the opportunity to discuss it.
So what did you, I'm sorry, I just want to
Yep.
clear, what did you submit today?
Oh, we have just an updated plan that has
Updated
more
one.
information on it, like the
Who did you send it to? Oh. I don't have anything. I've been surprised all night, so I just wanted to double check. Thanks.
We're prepared to go over the materials that were submitted for this meeting. And of course, my colleagues all know that this is a sketch plan and we may see you again with a formal site plan.
Yes, and basically the plan that was emailed over this afternoon is still sketch plan, but it just provided additional information to try to help you understand like what we were doing. The reason why this plan is lacking some information that would typically come in on a regular sketch plan is because currently VIP doesn't own the property. And we're in the process of doing due diligence to find out if there are any, for lack of a better term, say fatal flaws that could end up making it so that they wouldn't be able to do the project. They'd like to know that now before they go into the next step of, purchasing the property. So that was one of the reasons why we wanted to come this evening and just have the conversation and find out if there's anything we're missing. Find out if we don't know what we don't know. So that's what we're looking for tonight.
So just to update the board, the layout is the same. So the conversation's really the same.
Okay. I guess at this point, is there anything you want to add to help with the items that were listed here for discussion? I'm assuming you got this in advance of tonight's meeting. And as I said, there's 12 items here that we could discuss, but it would be helpful if you have discussion context for us tonight on these.
So I guess you're not the only one that's been surprised this evening. I haven't seen that list.
So we emailed out the planning board link on July 11th, I believe.
Okay.
July 12th. Yeah, we send out the staff memo and everything's been online for 2 weeks now with
Okay,
all of
that's
the memos.
That's my bad. I apologize for that.
I sent it out to the applicant, so I don't recall off the top of my head who was the applicant. I think that, yeah, part of the problem was I was on vacation when you all came in with the pre-app, and then I think your sketch plan was quite a surprise. And then when I saw your sketch plan, it does have fatal flaws. So the fatal flaws are the property, the way it's laid out with the natural resources. The fatal flaw is about the service space facing the road. You have the road, the parking on the against the street. So the comments are your fatal flaws. So what I was hoping when I opened it was a different site layout, and it was the same layout. I'm happy to meet with you guys offline.
Okay.
It sounds like that maybe you weren't prepared for this discussion or to.
Yeah,
offer any-
well, I think that's what I was kind of alluding to. This is, really, for a sketch plan, it's real sketchy. But I will give my colleagues an opportunity to at least weigh in here. I think staff has pointed out some fatal flaws. The alignment of the building isn't what we want to see. There's no, we want to see that wetland delineation for sure. And so there's a lot of things that this sketch that is here doesn't really tell us much to go on. But again, I will open it up to the floor.
If I could just add, I know,
Angela?
as Autumn said, she was on vacation. Helen and I did meet with the applicant, and we talked about a lot of the things that are in that memo, as talking about our new wetland ordinance, our setbacks, how there aren't exemptions for those, and so I think a lot of those points were hit on. It doesn't look like they were reflective in what was submitted, though.
So it's not reflective of the sketch plan doesn't,
Discussion we had. So I guess that, but then there's additional ones. If you guys haven't seen that, obviously there's 12 of them, but some of them we did hit on.
It was sent to jquirk@vipauto.com. That's the applicant email.
That's
I had.
myself.
Okay.
When
July 10th.
we met with Angela and Helen, we had a different sketch that showed a building that didn't have the bays facing the street. It was more of
Oh.
a drive-in building, but it impeded on more of the wetlands. There has been a delineation study done that Rodney's managed. So we were trying to address some of the concerns that staff had when we first met. And, you know, to try to eliminate really the wetlands was what we took away from the administrative first meeting we had with them. And by reorientating the building in this fashion, we were able to minimize the impact on wetlands a great deal.
I appreciate that, but we have site plan design standards and zoning ordinance that you also have to comply with. So sometimes what happens when you have those issues, the site might not be ideal for what you're trying to put on it. That's often what we find through this sketch plan process.
Rodney has done a full wetland delineation. A vernal pool study was done as well.
okay. Well, again, we'll turn this over. This is only a sketch plan. Is there any feedback that,
One other comment, Rick, if I could make.
sure?
We're kind of sorry I did not see those questions. We're happy to, if you allow us to table this, to go back and see if we can address and meet with Autumn and see if we can address these concerns and come back and address them with the board at that time.
I'm fine with that. A little more concrete information at a sketch plan would be helpful.
Yep.
So that we can get you going into your full site plan with all the rules out there for you and all information you need in order to try and fit this in the way you want to fit it in, but it's got to meet our ordinances.
I mean, the site has a lot of challenges, no doubt.
Then you got your work cut out for you.
We do. And so we appreciate your time this evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to table this and we'll see you again. All right. Our last item tonight is 4.07 Goro Palmer on behalf of Magenta LLC has requested sketch plan review for the Haggis Parkway Development Phase 2, which includes the construction of 2 single-story light industrial buildings. Building 2 is 12,000 square foot and Building 3 is 10,000 square foot, and 1 office building, which is 3,600 square feet, located at 40 Haggis Parkway, Assessor's Map R50, Lot 35. Helen?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. As you mentioned, there are 3 buildings in this proposal, 2 light industrial buildings, 10,000 and 12,000 square feet, and 1 office building of 3,600 square feet. This parcel is about 4.38 acres, but I'll just mention that it's adjacent to phase 1 of the project at 70 Haggis. And I think there's really all there is to mention on this one. I'll pass it to you. The applicant's available for any discussion.
Before we go on, I'm sorry. This one you all saw as a sketch plan and site inventory and analysis in 2019. And then we do have an approved master plan on file from 2019. And then phase 1 where the Sid Harvey structure was approved in 2019, and then we extended it. And that's fully up and operational at this point. Some of the things that we included in the memo on this one is this submittal doesn't adhere to the approved master plan. The original master plan that we have has 2 buildings. The parking's a bit different. We also have wetland setbacks that have been adopted now. And so the previous application they put the wetland setback or the stormwater in the wetlands, and our requirements don't allow that anymore. And then we just had a couple of other things, but those were the big ones. It doesn't conform to the master site plan or master plan, and then excuse me, the wetland setbacks. I just wanted to point that out as we talk through this one.
Thank you, Autumn. And for the applicant,
Would you like to share your?
Yes, please.
I'll promote.
Sorry, bear with me for a moment. See my screen all right here? There it goes. So good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Caleb Barassa, a civil engineer with Goral Palmer, here on behalf of Magenta LLC tonight for phase 2 of the 40 Haggis Parkway development. As Autumn had touched on here, this was before you back in 2019. I actually was a part of that project back at that point as well, had done the site inventory and analysis, master plan, and then the site plan for the phase 1, which is now the Sid Harvey building there. So I have a brief presentation here. We'll talk through just some of the plan changes, as Autumn had noted, some differences between what we're showing now for our phase 2 and what was shown in the future development area on the master plan, and then talk through a couple other points just on the comments from staff. So first here, just to kind of get reacquainted with the site. North is without a north arrow on this sheet here. North is on the right-hand side of the page where my cursor is, south towards the bottom. So Haggis Parkway running left, right across the screen. This is the, I believe, Market Street entrance here for the Scarborough Downs. So this is an up-to-date aerial image here. This shows the Sid Harvey building with the existing access onto Haggis Parkway. And shows actually some of the most recent improvements for that Scarborough Downs access with some lane widenings that they had done, left turn lanes in and out for that development. This is the most current site plan. On the next sheet here, I do have the master plan that was originally approved, that most recent one, and then a couple of other just black and white site plan and grading plans we can kind of touch on in more detail. But the big thing is really trying to hit on here is that we have the 3 buildings now, 10,000 square foot building, working left to right across this screen here, 10,000 square foot building with a warehouse and office use, a 12,000 square foot building, warehouse office use, and then a 3,600 square foot building, which is an office use, and that's actually going to be used by the applicant as their own office. So a couple of things that'll change, and I'll point out, but just between the plans, and I might flip between the two if I go in here. Previously, what we had shown, and you can see just in a lighter gray tone between the phase 1 and phase 2 areas, generally kind of along that existing access point here. Everything to the left-hand side was this same phase 2 area. So the key differences here really between the plan. Total footprint area is exactly the same. We're actually a little bit less in total impervious area, I think by about 3,000 square feet. Our total floor area, although we have a third building instead of the 2 shown here, we're actually short a few hundred square feet in that sense too. These original buildings were its same type of use with predominant warehouse space with an office use as well. But those were 12,900 square foot buildings where we're going to a little bit smaller footprint for the 10,000, 12,000, and then now that separate 3,600 square foot office building. Other things that will have changed, you'll see in this plan, are the driveway access conditions here. We've touched on with staff and have noted this was something that was coordinated, I think, just after or about the same time as our site plan approval in 2019, when Scarborough Downs was planning their access on the Haggis Parkway. So what we're planning here is actually going to be to ultimately move over, if I flip back to the new site plan, we're going to be moving our access just to kind of gain more distance clear distances from the new intersection there with the Scarborough Downs entrance. What you see actually in this red shape on the screen will just be an infill of what is now a left turn lane that was provided for the Sid Harvey building. So that will just be that stamped pavement that you see out there today. We have already started to provide and provided in our initial packet here, just the traffic volumes. We've done a lane warning analysis. So there are no left turn warning analysis or right turn into this site here. So this is what we're proposing at the moment here is just this infill for that turn lane. That will just show that, you know, people won't be trying to use that small amount of space to turn left into our site driveway here. So all those access conditions, I think pretty well looked at with staff, and we're feeling comfortable that that's a safe condition here. Other items, just between the master plan, our intentions here have been that it was always a conceptual plan on the master plan side, which included utility access. The site access wasn't planned to be moved at the time, but working with the Scarborough Downs there as well, we're certainly open and willing to move our access here. We will talk about probably a little bit more on the wetland side of things. We do have to revise our stormwater. When I flip back to the master plan here, we had within our first 25-foot setback, we had a series of rain gardens. That was our original plan for the stormwater management for the site. And of course, since then, there is this new wetland setback ordinance. So something that we're working back with. What you'll find with our final site plan application or our further applications here, we're going to consolidate and work to locate the stormwater management facilities down here in the bottom left side of the site, so that we are outside of those wetland setbacks and not incurring any additional setbacks for those stormwater facilities. So still a very similar plan. A lot of the stormwater will be making its way toward the right-hand side of the screen. And sewer is probably the only other difference in here. We had one combined sewer main that served all the buildings on the site. During the phase one construction, it was found that there was some pretty unsuitable soil conditions and very kind of loose fills in that area. So there was a decision to pick up the building sewer for the first building. And so what we're planning to do here with this new building will be actually to just consolidate and then send over the sewer across Haggis Parkway to the existing public sewer. That section of the sewer was built out with the Haggis Parkway. It actually does dead end, I believe, near or along our frontage. So it's certainly open. I think has more than enough capacity and should be more than suitable for our flows that we'll be sending over that way. A couple of other items here on this we've talked about with staff would be sidewalks to be constructed along the frontage here. There was some discussion, I know, with the more northerly development has built out theirs. There is a sidewalk that was built out along the phase one here. One of the things we're talking about here was where the sidewalk would be located, and we're certainly open to talking with staff and the board on this piece. We're not feeling that it would be suitable to have the sidewalk on site, I think, just based on the uses there. So we're going to be certainly looking at a plan to how can we get that sidewalk either in the right of way, or if the town is certainly open to maybe just pursuing an in lieu fee for that section of sidewalk, understanding that further south down Haggis Parkway with Foley's, Salt Pump, all those businesses, there is no sidewalk currently there. So it is a little bit of a dead end, but again, something we're open to discussing here tonight and going with staff on. One other item was just a connectivity between the phase one and the phase two area. And I think a discussion of just looping around, I think perhaps the back side of the office space here. The idea was not to connect that, as these guys now, these tenants, the Sid Harvey, they have larger tractor trailer trucks that come through here. And this was actually their pavement area when they came in was actually expanded so that they could utilize their larger delivery vehicles, be able to back in and then turn around and then exit through the driveway. So that's the plan for the moment. And again, another thing we're certainly open to discussion on. I think that's just about the end of my presentation. Again, just talking about the master plan, certainly looking for some additional feedback from staff and the board on what should the next step be. We certainly were thinking that this is a reasonable approach and still within kind of the confines generally of the original master plan as far as overall development footprint, site access, utility usage, stormwater management approach. Yes, we do have the third building, but generally with the same floor areas there. So we seem to think that this would be a reasonable approach and open just to discussion on that point. So with that, I'll end my presentation, turn it back over to the board.
Thank you very much. Just a reminder, this is a sketch plan, so we want to give them direction. What's that? Oh, thank you. I'm opening this to public comment. Anybody out there? No. Thank you. We'll close public comment. Thank you, Rachel, for the point of order. Why don't you kick us off?
Sure. As unaccustomed as I am to doing that. Well, let me start off by saying I would like to see the new master plan. I mean, I listened as carefully as I could, but as you started getting deeper and deeper and more into the differences, there were a couple of places I lost the thread. So first, a new master plan, and then we consider the site plan. Now, I don't see why that can't be done in the same meeting.
Sure.
But it would be extremely helpful to be able to see that plan. Let me ask, are these buildings, and that includes the Sid Harvey building, are they leased or are they going to be sold off?
I think that's certainly open at the moment. I don't think there's a certain plan.
Well, I ask because there's a question of the number of parking spaces that you have.
Yes.
So as soon as you sell off a portion, all of a sudden, you don't have enough parking spaces.
Sure.
So that's something that you either need to figure out how to accommodate on your master plan that says, just in case this is sold off, here's where we would put the extra sites or the extra parking spaces.
Yep, absolutely.
And here's what we plan right now because these are all going to be leased.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to see that. I got a little concerned when you started to talk about the larger trucks going into Sid Harvey and how that's going to be handled on the site. In other words, how that turning around is going to be. So we're going to need to see auto turns. If all of a sudden you have larger trucks than were anticipated, and we're looking at the 4 buildings kind of as one site, even though one of them is completed, we would need to see that. I have a question because I was on the planning board when this first came through. What's going to happen to the land to the east of what's planned to be developed?
Plan East that currently exists, it's somewhat of a field area now. That actually, when we first started looking at the site was really, that was where our control of access was off of Higas Parkway, but it was determined pretty quickly that's pretty unsuitable soil out there for these structures. So there's no plan at the moment for that development area.
Well, actually, there was in the original master plan. So
yes, correct. But after we had started to do our geotechnical evaluations, there's uncontrolled fills out there that really aren't suitable for other than at additional expense for additional buildings. So that wasn't part of the plan. So the current master plan, I don't believe, had any additional buildings or any other development out that way.
no, it did not. But what it did have, as I recall, and sometimes my memory gets faulty now, the all of that kind of shaggy brush. I believe we were promised that that would all be bulldozed out or bush hogged out and a meadow mix put in there so that actually instead of having what looks like a waste site south of this, it was actually it was actually land that could be used by pollinators. So double check the original discussion, not just the
Yeah,
original plan, but
sure.
the original discussion, because if you guys promised that, and I'm pretty sure you did,
Yeah, I'll have to go back to
then
check. I don't
I'd
recall.
like to see it, because it's
Sure.
now 5-6 years later and nothing's been done there.
Sure.
But this is your opportunity to create a much better visual going down Higas Parkway. We will, or at least I will, always be taking a look at the architecture. Are there going to be doors on the front, or are doors on the side, actually? I like to see that. I'd like to make sure that they conform with what's in the area, with what, and we now have the new construction along Higas Parkway, or visually from Higas Parkway. So it would be good to see how this is now going to work into that new aesthetic that we have along there. I think I'm very happy that you're closing the original door, the original driveway that you have there, because it didn't make a lot of sense to have about a 10-foot difference and not use the light at all. But moving it south, is that going to be a problem since you have controlled access, or there is a controlled access? Is that going to be a problem with MDOT or the state or anybody in terms of where you're putting the new access?
No, that will not be. There's already been discussions with DOT on that matter, and they're certainly open to moving that control of access. So there will be that formal change application that needs to be made, but they're certainly open to it. So
Okay,
no
so
issues
we
on-
will, before we end up approving anything like a plan, we will see the MDOT approval for that.
Sure.
Okay. I think that's about it. As I said, I'll take a look at the architecture. I want to see things fit in. And I want to see what you're doing with the sidewalk. I live on a road just off of Higas Parkway, so I do travel down there and I see people using the sidewalks.
Mhm.
I see people walking along. So they are performing what they're supposed to do, provide people with an opportunity to jog or walk up and down the road. Now, granted, it'll come to an end. It's a dead end at some point, but it's nice to know that we'll be able to add a couple of hundred more feet to the sidewalk.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Rachel. Roger, you want to go?
Yeah, thank you. So I assume we're gonna get an amended master plan. Is that correct?
Well, I think that's what we're asking for
Yeah,
at this
Yeah,
meeting,
that
yeah.
sounds like.
For this to go forward, we need a.
Yeah, I think we can do it,
Okay,
one after the other at,
Okay.
at another meeting, yeah.
so I would suggest that once we get the amended master plan, I think the requirements are pretty much laid out in these recommendations. Recommended items for discussion. And, following the current regulations, the ordinances and everything. This should be okay, I would assume. I have a question regarding the entranceway, though, the new one, the proposed one. Will the tractor trailer trucks going to Sid Harvey, will they be able to negotiate that? Okay,
Yes, they will. I don't believe we had prepared and submitted turning movements, but that had all been that's been
Okay.
looked at this point. So we'll provide certainly with our later applications.
okay.
More to that.
And I'm not sure, currently, is there a left turn lane going into Sid Harvey's current location?
There was one that was put in only because of the awkward location with the improvements that the Downs had done for their
Okay.
entrance. We've done a formal lane warrant analysis, and based on what we have for traffic and also volumes on Higas Parkway, it's not required. So once we move further away and we have better clear distance from that entrance point from Market Street, that will be a better condition. So no need for any left turn lane there.
Because you know, on the Parkway right now, if you're coming off the exit, I mean, you got the entrance going into the apartments. And I think there's a turn lane there, if I'm not mistaken.
Here it is.
And then you have Market Street. So it. I
Lot of
think-
turn lanes.
Yeah, well, just something to think about, making it consistent, you know? I would, so at this point, like I said, once you know, we could buy the amended master plan and you basically abide by what the items for discussion and the current ordinances. I think this can go forward, you know, so.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Roger. Jen, you wanna?
Sure. More driveway questions. I am curious why you opted to move the driveway to the south, I think, as opposed to just entering into the signal.
Reason for that was, I don't believe that the intersection really was accounted for with us at the time. So as far as improvements go, necessary improvements to connect into that, I think certainly just too costly for us. This really won't be a major generator for trips. One of the things actually, Roger, I was gonna kind of comment on for your part, and is there gonna need to be a left turn lane or not? I think we have in here a combined, I believe this would be, and correct me if I'm wrong, we were just shy of 30 trips in a peak hour for our site. So compared to the Beacon or the Scarborough Downs, you're talking over 100 traffic movement per event level kind of conditions there. So for us, this was a discussion that we had actually going back, and I think there was a letter that we had with Dan Bacon at the time, and then I can't recall if Steve Landry was on it or a region engineer. But discussion of, okay, so when this happens and we come forward with the rest of our development, we'll move our site driveway to that point. So just meeting all the rest of the clear conditions, I think being a load generator ourselves, it just made the most sense.
Okay, I just, I can't help but look at this and I understand what you're saying, like these uses are low generator uses, but, you know, and it's, it's perhaps an extreme example, but it's close by, so I'm gonna go with it anyway. But, you know, we have a lot of access management issues on Route 1, because everything sort of, you know, when it goes in, just based on what makes sense for that one site without sort of considering the whole corridor as a whole. Not that you're not doing that, but just over time is kind of what I'm thinking about.
Sure.
So yes, right now you might not warrant a left turn lane, but at some point, if it is warranted, or the uses change, or the through volumes change, or who, you know, who even knows? It's just always easier to accommodate that when the entrance is at a signal.
Sure.
And that said, if there really is no, and I'm curious about DOT's position on that too, actually, because I would believe even with low traffic numbers, that they too would find it safer to enter this this corridor through a signal if given the option. So you're coming to us at probably, you know, not warranted to go out and make you move a driveway if it's already there and the signal's close by, but because we're sort of talking about expanding the site with some additional use and additional trips, I just thought it was warranted to talk about a little bit. And I see that you've sort of cited the current location that you're showing, looks like you're attempting to keep it over the 300 feet away from that signal currently, but that also falls within some wetland areas there. So I'm curious if any consideration was given, if you're not going to come into the signal, to moving the driveway even further down to avoid some of those wetland impacts. And understanding that that then probably also has an impact on your on-site maneuverability. Curious what size vehicles you are anticipating accessing these new buildings and or the existing building if this were to remain a shared driveway for that site too? You said tractor trailer, so WB 67s probably.
Sure. Yeah, that was not the plan for these future buildings here. We were talking something smaller in like the SU40, like a box truck style for these. I think it ultimately came to be that it just was the ultimate tenement for the phase one. And then those accommodations were made after the fact. So it wasn't the plan, and it's not the plan for this phase two. Yeah, I think just to kind of touch upon a couple of things you had there, Jen. So just first, what I have here up on the screen, I think in general, when I look at also connecting in from our site to this intersection, I think just poor planning and access as far as how it comes up into the site directly into this phase one building where we do have the parking stalls here now, becomes kind of an issue. And I don't think that we had space certainly to accommodate, and the building can't be certainly changed with those entrances to accommodate, certain parking and access changes like that. So I think that would certainly be a conflict there. On the other side here, we've centralized this access for the whole development, and I think that was really just the intent so that it's easier rather than sending it all the way towards the other end here. I don't have off the top of my head what we were into for wetland impacts, but certainly permittable. And I think that we're keeping these to, as minimal as possible. I believe the wetlands are really centrally located, or at least just in this section, along this kind of phase two frontage, I'll call it, in the right of way. We do have a small finger of wetlands that kind of comes up into the site, somewhat in between this kind of building two, building three portion. So small amount of wetland impacts here just at the driveway location, centrally locating it so that it works for, distance and access for all parties here in the future. And I just think that it was somewhat of a conflict just as the site was previously laid out in connecting into that future intersection. So that was kind of part of the discussion at the time when the Downs was coming through, and I think they had initial plans to have a different location for their access currently and then move to this location. So I have here, without reading all the way through it for the background, there's a letter that I had with me here that was just between Steve Landry, Jay Chase, Carrie Anderson, the owner here for Magenta LLC. And then this was written by Dan Bacon at the time. So there was a discussion on that, and then ultimately DOT was okay with the approach that in the future, when this next phase comes, we'll move the driveway access down.
Okay. Yeah.
Can I just add a little to that? It was talked about moving it down, is that, but not the location to, so to your point, the board can look at, is that the right spot? I think that's still open for interpretation.
I know like the 300 feet to the signal is kind of a thing, but I also know that the further you can get from a signal, the better, just generally speaking. And this is a pretty long site, so technically you do have some other frontage to work with. So, maybe not a deal breaker, but it does seem like there are some other, there might be another way to cite that without any wetland impacts and without bifurcating the wetlands that are there, high quality or not. Just something to consider. And I think you could still do it in a way that, where it's an entrance to the site, as opposed to, where it feels like an entrance, maybe not necessarily needing to be centrally located.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only other comment that I had was about the sidewalk topic. So I know that you said in the plans show that existing sidewalk has been extended across the front of the existing parcel that's built out. And that, yes, there's nothing to connect that to the south, but I feel like we do ask for that frequently, knowing that, you might not connect on one side, but that it's important to continue connections when we have the opportunity to do so. Because some point there will be something on the other side. And if this frontage doesn't get built out then there's there's a gap there too.
Sure.
And I too have seen, people using even disconnected facilities out there on Haggis Parkway in particular, because it's really not a great place to be, on the road running or walking or anything like that. So I do think this, and the right of way out here is enormous. So there's certainly,
Sure.
there's certainly room to do it, in a way that we don't have that chance in a lot of other parts of town. So I think that would be a good, thing to add here. I think that's it for me for this, at this
Thank
point.
you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jen. James?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Um, I definitely want to have the sidewalk. I'll mimic comments earlier, not adding too much here, but the closer and closer we keep going further east, the closer we get to Scottish Hill Road. And I do see people walking and running all the time, even throughout the downs, everywhere. People are on the road. More people are on the road, especially now since more people are working at home and people are commuting on their bicycles and they're walking their dogs and they're running. Um, the field east, maybe it isn't cost effective right now to develop, but if we've seen anything here in the town, just because it isn't cost effective now, if everything else around it is filled in, then this eventually will get filled in with something. And that'll be another opportunity for us to put in the sidewalk, get another couple 100 feet out of it. And then when eventually, when it's only like maybe 100 or 200 feet, that needs to be filled in. Maybe that's the part where the town steps in and fills that small gap and then connects a whole loop where you have Scotto Hill that goes all the way up to Haggis and then goes all the way up to the Downs, Cabela's. If it's a sidewalk that's get put on Payne Road that goes towards Two Rod Road, that'd be a huge connector for just pedestrian routes and circulation. Excuse me. So please, I do want to see that sidewalk. Connect it, make it match existing conditions to what's already there and keep it going as far down as we can. I know it's, I mean, looking at the plan, I mean, also, we have, I think it was a hit and run on Haggis or near Haggis recently. That, there are people that are out there, whether there are, oh no, it was on Route 1, excuse me. But people are on the road is my point. So thank you. The last thing I have is, I understand looking at the plan, it is difficult to utilize that traffic light intersection to access the site. And that's probably just a lack of foresight and all of us not seeing that, trying to recognize that intersection should be maximized for as much as we possibly can. Just seeing, the issues with the discussions on Marshview and Route 1, the Gallery Boulevard intersection on Muzzy Road for those condos that are down there as well. It's important for us as planning board members and developers as well, to recognize these as sort of the bigger picture. That's why we're asking for the master plan to see how the rest of this starts to go together. So maybe some more, I wasn't here when Jay Chase was around for this discussion, so maybe if you could provide some information, just really solidifying why you can't use that intersection besides it just not being financially pleasing at this point. I'd like to see more information on that. And then for Jen's point, let's see what it would look like if we did slide down that driveway more east, rather it's not just so close to the intersection. Again, the Marshview discussions we had on Route 1, where you have a turning lane, an intersection, another turning into another road into the Walgreens, and then there's Pine Point Road there. So, we should do our best to try to not keep replicating these sort of long-term errors that we keep seeing throughout the town, which may not affect us now, but they will in like 10, 15, 20 years. That's all I have for this one. A last one on that is, I mean, especially if you're already demoing the road, you're already mobilized with all your construction equipment out there, you're already doing a lot of work at that intersection. It'd be a real shame if we couldn't do it. And that's all I have to say. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate your time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, James. Yeah, I think my colleagues covered a lot. So I think a couple of things here. You're going to come back with a revised master plan to kind of put this in and codify how these two phases now gel together. I am definitely interested in a little more information on why, maybe truck movement or what have you would be helpful, but why can't we move that entrance further south? That is, I'd like to know why it wouldn't work for you, for this site, based on the revised master plan. And I think it's fixable. I also think that we have to make provisions for parking, despite knowing that the office is going to be occupied by an entity right off, but that entity could change. And we'd like to make sure that, the site will be able to handle a change of occupancy in that office building. So that would be a helpful add to your site plan. Do you have questions for us or need any clarifications?
I believe that I do. Any others? I think that's pretty good. So we'll have the concurrent applications for amended master plan and then our just phase 2 site plan coming forward. So, and then we will hit on other pieces for access, sidewalk and other. Yeah, go ahead, Kerry.
I just want to, Kerry Anderson, owner. So as far as that intersection goes, that intersection was post our construction. And our site was designed with our entrance in mind. That intersection was never fleshed out. We never knew where it was going to go. So
I understand. I think my comment was the new entrance to phase 2 moving further south. I kind of understand the predicament that this site is with trying to line up with Market Street. And I think that's pretty much a general consensus. But I think what we're questioning is why can't the new entrance be moved further south?
yeah, well, I'm responding to Jen and Mr. Hebert's comment. It's not financial. It would do a lot of demoing to that original site based on the fact that there's an intersection that's been placed at a location after we had a site plan and we're actually under construction. There's also about a 8 to 10 foot grade change there that hasn't been mentioned. So it's not financial.
Well, this is a sketch plan at this point, and we didn't really get into the
Right, but it's more than,
things
it's more
of
than
that.
financial. It's not just financial, I guess is what I'm saying.
Okay, we'll see that on the site plan then, I assume.
We'll see what.
The elevations and why it wouldn't be feasible to move that new entrance down.
Yeah, I think that would make sense. We put that in, Kerry, just in our.
I'm talking about bringing the entrance to the intersection, which is what Jen had mentioned.
Oh,
What I'm saying is that it's not as easy as it may sound, and I thought I heard Mr. Hebert say that just for financial reasons, it would actually really devastate that original site because again, that intersection got placed after that building was built. So now to say, oh, you got to go to that intersection, all the damage it would do to that site, not to mention that there's about an 8 to 10 foot grade change there. So you'd be going like this to get in and like that to go down. That's all. That's all I
okay.
wanted to point out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
That is it for us.
Then I suspect we will see you again.
Yes, absolutely. Appreciate the feedback.
All
Thank
right,
you.
well, thank you. All right, I think we can forego the traditional 8:30 break and, huh? Well, unplan that plan. I like that plan. All right, so let's move on to staff report, minor development reviews.
Nothing to report.
Any administrative amendment report?
No, we've had a few requests come through, but we haven't seen anyone actually apply.
Okay. Correspondence coming in?
None.
And now that leads us to planning board comments. Go ahead, James.
I have a question, and maybe it's better in an email, but I want to ask with everybody here, what is the town's policy on, because there's the question about traffic earlier, speeding. The folks on the very first application were asking about sensors that would trigger a light if it's a vehicle coming, or are there any communities nearby in the state that utilize radar traps for trying to
I'm
throw?
sure there's radar traps out there in lots of communities.
I mean, as far as like fixed signage for that.
Well, I do know there's going to be a four-way stop on Broad Turn and Burnham Road.
That's what I was, yeah, it's about 1,900 feet from Joni's Way that you were looking at. So it's a little distance up, but that's a high crash location that DOT.
So at least that slows the
for a long time.
traffic down a little bit, and
Yeah.
let's see if we can't burn rubber, huh?
No, I guess I was, when I was throughout my travels, okay, like I think it was in Europe, they have, around fast corners and hard corners where there are a lot of crashes and incidents. It's not just the intersections. I'm thinking for myself in that western area on Holmes Road, Broad Turn, where people take corners really tight, and people are trying to run and bike there, would there ever be consideration for a fixed mounted camera? I mean, people would know it was there, but they'd be forced to slow down.
I think state statute does not allow us to use cameras to write tickets. It's that red light
That's it, huh?
requirement. It is not allowed in the state of Maine. So I think other states probably do have that, but Maine is.
Yeah, I think California, you get fined if you're not wearing your seatbelt because a camera sees you. But we're not California,
No, no.
nor
certainly
do we
not.
have the same level of traffic as California. Well, in some spots of California.
But those safety improvements that DOT is installing are going in August, so they're coming up soon. So that's the good news.
Cool. Thank you. No, that's all I wanted to talk about, just to bring it up, but thank you. It clarifies for me.
Speed bumps.
And I could just add one more thing. Things that keep coming up too, for private ways, it's a little bit of a struggle at times. There's a lot of nuances with them, and Autumn and I have kicked around a little bit in the past, and I'm just curious, since we have a little bit of time. I know in the city of Saco, private ways go through the planning board. It's essentially a pretty in-depth review by staff, and it becomes a very kind of cursory review by the planning board, but it's kind of nice as was brought up about having that public process and having the opportunity for abutters to kind of voice concerns. I mean, obviously I can add about abutters notices, but it's a little different if you have the opportunity with a public meeting. So I just wanted to have you guys start maybe thinking about that and maybe weigh in.
Yeah, if I could, that's one thing that bothered me about that application, that the private way anticipated a subdivision that we didn't know was coming.
I didn't either, so that was.
Yeah,
also-
right. So, I mean, basically, it was set up and they said, well, we've got the stormwater all set, we've got the road, we've got the hammerhead, we've got everything else. That's usually part of the application,
Yep.
not done separately. So that's why I asked the questions that I did, because yeah, I think there may have been stuff that we could have anticipated had it all been done at once, but if, from what you said, didn't have to be, but maybe it should be. If there's going to be a private way that there's any anticipation of becoming a subdivision, we need to see it, I think.
And I know why it hasn't been in the past for Scarborough is that we do not have a black lot provision. So a lot of the private ways that we see as staff that come through are, I'm splitting off the back to build a house for my son. I need frontage. It's a driveway that becomes a private way. And so it's also dealing with not a developer, you're dealing with a homeowner who's never gone through a process, and planning board can be a scary process, believe it or not.
Oh, we're not scary people.
But it's also.
That's only occasionally.
Yeah, so I just want to throw that out there. Most of the people I deal with private ways are also like, this is the only development I'm ever going to do in my entire life. I'm just trying to get frontage for my family. That's pretty much the typical. That's why it has not been incorporated so far. I think we've seen in other communities, similar was the case, but it got expanded. And that's why I'm saying.
Well,
the
let me,
question.
let me ask staff then, if this was to be a suggestion for further review and maybe drafting some language, what committee would be good for that? Transportation?
No, I'm gonna go ahead and
She's gonna do it.
I'm gonna go into my staff updates. So we have LD 1829, that was.
That was the accessory dwelling?
No, that LD 1829 removes
That-
our ability to apply rate of growth across town. It changes our subdivision amendments. It does things to ADUs. And so this is actually a really good conversation to tie into that. So, because this might be additional controls that we're gonna lose some controls, but this might be a control. So that'll go before council and a workshop in the next few months. LD 1829 doesn't go into effect until next July. So we have a little bit of time, but I did a brief presentation.
On the growth, yeah.
Wednesday about it. So I would say it's perfect segue because we're gonna have to do some other subdivision amendments.
So we'll see it. We'll see it as it gets through the channel. So I like that. Sounds like a expedited way to make it happen.
I guess I would like some sort of guidance, I guess, from our attorney on what we do when we're not sure that they actually, when we've been presented with additional testimony that calls into question the ownership. The only thing I could think of was to halt the process to work it out. But it's also why I asked if it had come up before, because if it come up before and they hadn't done anything about it, I would have had no problem saying, nope, we go forward. You've been told what to do, but you haven't done it. But this, especially when you start to deal with with property that was subdivided in 1730, whenever it was originally subdivided. I do not remember that, Roger, but I do remember the revolution. But
Yeah, all right, you two.
anyhow,
I think we did our due diligence tonight.
I think, but it would be helpful. It was such a surprise. It was nothing that we could anticipate was coming. And I think we did a good job staggering through.
And I think that's, you're presented with information. The burden of proof is on applicants. I think we did the appropriate thing.
We need the floor.
Anybody else with comments? Roger wants to get out of here. Any motion, Roger? Any motion?
I move to approve.
No, you should be moving to adjourn, not approve.
You failed miserably at that.
Right, Roger,
Roger, would you like to make a
seconded
motion?
to move to approve.
Okay, he approves your request to adjourn. Thank you all. Have a nice evening.